boy, do we have some drama in the kingdom. We have a show today. Everyone is losing their minds. Collectively, if you've been following anything that's been happening on X,
conspiracy theories are entering a dangerous...
Information is the oxygen of the democracy.
There's so much evidence out there that even if less than 1% is true, that would be enough to collapse the current paradigm and change the whole planet.
X has been a total meltdown, a total shit show. The YouTube Spaces has been this crazy back and forth. It's all centering around Candace Owens and her reporting, and then people going after her, and then Mitch Snow and the reporting there. And I've been largely staying out of it as much as possible. Okay, as much as possible. So we're going to get into all of that today, and we're going to use that conversation and that drama to demo my new tool a little bit. And we're probably going to go for quite a while here. Honestly, I mean, it's been Christmas. We've been busy. I've been gone. I've been fucking coding, vibe coding, to be clear. I've been vibing hard. I'm literally addicted to vibe coding. And so I've just been fucking in here just like for days, all day, all night. I haven't slept. I haven't changed. I haven't showered. I haven't shaved. I haven't eaten. I'm kidding, obviously. And I've been nerding out. And the tool is amazing. And we're going to use it today. And I'm still working on it. But it's amazing. But yeah, we're gonna watch. So if you don't know, I'll just fill you in on the background while people get in here. Candace Owens is on break right now. And right before the break, she had a pretty heater week where she dropped this interview with Mitch Snow, and then she dropped a whole bunch more episodes of just kind of rapid fire receipts and like claims and stuff that she's been holding on to. And it was a big week for Candace, her last week here. And then she went on break for Christmas break. A bunch of stuff started happening behind the scenes. I got caught up in some of the behind the scenes mud that we'll comment on. We'll explain a little bit of what happened in this Twitter space last night. And Coach Colin, wise as he is, he made this prediction. He was like, I think that we're all getting Candace withdrawals, and I think even Candace is getting Candace withdrawals. I think Candace isn't going to be able to get through this whole 2 weeks off without doing a live stream. And lo and behold, the very next day, Candace Owens is like, we're hosting a live space tonight on X. We're going to address all this stuff. And a bunch of shit happened. And rather than go and watch the X space video, because it was a video space, rather than go watch the original video space, we're going to watch Coach's replay of the space. We're going to watch the Coach Colin replay because Coach Colin is just hilarious. He's a good time. He already clipped out some of the segments, and it's going to give us the opportunity to talk about clipping. But for this part, we're going to calm the fuck down, okay? We're just going to calm down because everyone is freaking the fuck out, and we could all really just use a chill pill. We could really use a chill pill. It'd be great if we could all stop taking things so damn personally and getting so defensive and attacking each other and over extrapolating on things that people aren't saying, on misrepresenting people, on straw manning people, on, dying on your hill or pretending that other people's perspective doesn't make sense when it obviously does. Okay. We're going to calm down. Just calm down. Okay. And we're going to watch a Coach Colin video because Coach is always chill. Coach Colin's always got his level-headed thinking hat on. You know Coach Colin? If you don't know Coach Colin, you're about to know Coach Colin, homie. Say what up to Coach. If you don't already, drop him a follow. Drop him a huge follow and a like. Coach is the man. And he's always bringing the level head. He's always just calm and just telling it like it is, okay? And dropping some funny jokes along the way. And in this, the nice thing about this episode, it's long. We'll go at 1.25 or something. We're going to have a long stream today, folks. We're going to hang out. But in this episode, Coach Colin is going to break down what happened on the space with Candace Owens and the various other speakers that were in there, what's been going on behind the scenes. He'll comment on a bunch of the other associated topics. So he's going to do a good job of kind of prompting our conversation to wind through a lot of these other pieces of the conversation. And there's a bunch of context that I'm going to give about what I said in the space, what other people were saying about the space. I've been purposely trying to stay the fuck out of this conversation about Fort Huachuca because I just don't know I don't know Mitch, and I don't know the evidence that Candace has seen. I know some of what she's seen, but like I don't know the story. She's on it and she's figuring it out, and she'll do the investigation her way and she'll do it, and that's fine. And I don't need to like police her about whether she's in it or not. You know, I don't need to solve it for her. I'm working on my own angles on the story. I have learned from watching how Candace has handled it. I've learned from watching Candace handle all kinds of things. But I'm inevitably, anytime that Candace Owens is doing something, I inevitably become like a conduit of people trying to get to Candace Owens. And it's like, that's not how you get a hold of Candace Owens. Sorry. It doesn't work that way. So Coach is going to break it down for us. And once again, I want to remind you all that I am obviously not the arbiter of truth. I'm not the arbiter of justice. I'm not the arbiter of what you should believe or anything like that. So I'm just going to share my opinions and what I know and what information I have behind the scenes and what I think of people, and what questions I have. And hopefully I'll share a perspective with you that will remind us all to chill the fuck out and just think for yourself and don't fucking stress it, dude. Don't take it so personally. Don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. Because, oh Lord, it'd be crazy out here. So, let's talk about Fort Huachuca and Candace Owens and all the wild developments that have happened and all of the piling on and smears and slander and attacks I didn't mean to say Hasbro. I mean to say like not even propaganda, like psyops that are floating in the space. Yeah, let's unpack some of this shit.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. What up, Coach?
Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you that don't know, like I said, didn't I call it? I didn't even think of this. I said, I think Candace is going through her own Candace withdrawals. It's not just us that are like, oh, when's she going live again? It's not just us. Because she's not coming back until next year, guys. So into early January, that's when we're going to see an episode from her.
Yeah.
But she was getting her own withdrawals, and there was so much stuff popping off that she just had to go live. But you didn't miss it. Well, you did, but it wasn't on YouTube. It was actually on X. Okay. So she went live on X, just talking about.
I was like in a business meeting, unrelated, just like doing my thing with some other homies. Talking things through, and I start my phone just starts blowing up with text messages like, Ian, Candace Owens is in the space. Candace Owens is asking for you to join the space. Candace Owens is wondering if you're in the space, bro. You're gonna be in the space, bro. And I'm like, dude, okay, fine, chill. I'll be there. I was like, guys, I gotta go. And like rolled into the space halfway through and I was like, and I'd been literally vibe coding all day long, just like on 4 screens, like, so my brain is already like total mush. And I like get into the space. I'm like, what's going on? Like, what is happening, guys? Everyone's yelling at each other and you're all my friends. Everyone just calm down. But it was a good time. You know, we had
about
fun.
Fort Huachuca, giving a whole breakdown of where she stands on everything. Mitch, Fort Huachuca, why it's important, all these different things. Had a bunch of different people in who spoke a little bit here and there, but I have it all for you. Don't worry about it. I have it for you. I'm going to give you
Coach
all
Collins
the breakdown. It was an hour and a half. I'm bringing you all the best parts. We're going to start off with why it's so important. She breaks down why she thinks it's so important. There's another journalist in there named Sam. He breaks down why he thinks it's so important as well. Then we're going to go through alibis, where she just talks about the alibis of Brian Harpole, Erica Kirk, or lack thereof, why they're going to Balix Tones with their stuff. Gary from Paramount Tactical, why aren't they coming to her? There's a whole bunch there. Then we get into Mitch a little bit. Now,
every time I watch Coach Colin, I'm always wondering, like, should I be like not saying names like Alex Jones? Should I not be saying Israel? Because I feel like I'm doing fine. Like, I don't think I'm getting any weird censorship or any weird pushback from the platform. And like, I don't think that's going to save you, bro. But it's kind of funny.
Mitch, she's going to be talking about what she verified and basically talking about how she doesn't particularly care about his past. She's not focused on that. She's focused on Fort Huachuca. Did he see who he said that he saw? That's basically it. She's making that very clear, but I have a few clips on that, a few clips on the alibi. Then, guys, this is very weird. Valhalla and Gary from Paramount Tactical. Now, we're going to listen to this together, okay? But
I have some details on this stuff. I'll clarify it when we get there. I got a lot to clarify on that stuff. I was involved in some of it, and a lot of it I wasn't involved in, but I kind of know about it. And then some of it I think is getting confused between multiple things.
She's saying that either they're both on recording or one of them is on recording. And man, do I hope it's Gary.
I'm pretty sure it's all Gary. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that it's all Gary that's in those phone calls that he's referring to that we'll get to later. I think we'll probably find out. I think Candace will probably post them at some point.
Do I hope it's Gary? I hope that it's Gary. I'm just saying, but she's saying that Mitch recorded a conversation that he had or conversations he had with either Valhalla or Gary Paramount Tactical. And this apparently was a very positive conversation where they were being very nice to him. So that's very interesting. Then,
yeah, I think that Candace sometimes confuses Paramount and Valhalla because she doesn't know them or interact with them. And it's not really her game. I don't know. So I think there's been some miscommunication about who's doing what.
Ian talks a little bit about Valhalla as well because Candace, she brings up Valhalla VFT. So I know Valhalla, bro. I know you wanted to make one video. He said this is one and done, but yeah. You might want to make another video just checking this whole thing out. I'm
pretty sure Nate's going live tonight.
And then we're going to end it off.
He's going to have to comment on it.
I think it was Andrew. And you'll understand what that means when we get to it because there's someone in this chat who got a very credible piece of information about Charlie Kirk and what happened to him 2 weeks before it happened. And he's questioned on who actually told him about that piece of information. But we'll get to that. But let's start.
And there's new developments on who told Harrison Smith the stuff today, as of like an hour or two ago. It happened live while he was on InfoWars today. There's new developments about his source that said that Charlie was afraid that Israel would kill him. Yeah. And all of this is not to mention that Barron's been dropping bombs for a whole week now. Barron had 30,000 live viewers on his stream like 3 days ago or whatever it was. What was it? Last Friday? Was it on Sunday? It was crazy. Barron is killing the game. And he's doing great reporting too. It's no surprise that he's got so many viewers.
Start up right at the top with why it's so important. There it is. Candace dressed like Sherlock Holmes. I mean, I got to say it. Sherlock Owens in the house, ladies and gentlemen, here to solve the case. All right, let's start it off.
Yourself and jump in. That would be great.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I guess my whole thing is, why does this meeting even matter? Like, what is the actual claim that's being made here? That's been my confusion the whole point, the whole time, is like, okay, let's say that there's absolute proof, photographic evidence that everything.
So this is Harrison Smith speaking. Good friends with Harrison Smith. I love him a lot. He works at InfoWars as a reporter. We'll listen to some of his comments here. I'll have a little bit to add. They got very heated. Everyone's piling on to Harrison, and Harrison's like firing back, and it's a whole thing. A whole bunch of drama.
Mitch says is true. Like, who cares? I mean, what does that prove? What is the actual accusation? Who do you think was conspiring with who to do what? Yeah. And I think obviously the name of the episode was, the day before Charlie Kirk was murdered. The insinuation is that this was a assassination planning meeting, which I don't even see any evidence of that. And then people I'm arguing with online are saying, no, this has nothing to do with the assassination. Yeah. So, I guess, if the space is why this matters, why does Fort Huachuca even matter? Like, what?
Before Colin gets into it, I'm just going to offer an analogy here. I respectfully disagree with Harrison on this point, but I want to remind us all that when you're talking to other people, friends even, or colleagues in good faith, and they're there in good faith, you don't have to personally attack people. And I'm not accusing Candace or Harrison of doing that. I'm just saying that, like, you can respectfully disagree and offer your arguments. And if you still don't agree on the arguments, that's fine. That's totally fine. The way that I see it is, and I like to take things out of context into a different context that's very similar. So you can remove some of the emotion. And maybe you're calling it a straw man. That's fair if you want to call it that. But here's an analogy. if you're investigating a murder in this house and there's a husband and wife and it's all a little sketchy and you don't exactly know what happened, and then you're doing your due diligence, so you go to the neighbor's house. And in the neighbor's house, you sit down to ask them questions and they start acting really fucking weird. And the wife neighbor is like, oh, like, I don't even know what happened. I mean, I was busy the entire time. I actually was over at this other place and I couldn't have been there because I have an alibi and all. Like, you know, I'm making up a story here, but like, if they start acting really weird around their conversation about what happened at the neighbor's house with the murder, then you would just be curious, right? You'd be curious and you might want to investigate that. And that wouldn't mean that you know that they did anything. It would just mean that that's sort of suspicious and I should look into it. And it would become an open thread in your mind as an investigator. And maybe it leads nowhere, but you still investigate it. Another scenario that's maybe a little closer to what we're talking about here. You go to the neighbor's house for information and the neighbors say that actually they know the mailman that works the route and he's kind of weird, but the real weird thing is that the wife works next to this military base and the wife actually saw their mailman going into the military base the day before this murder happened. And she didn't know what it meant, but it was just weird. She just thought it was weird and he's a weird guy and she just thought that she would mention it. And so you'd be like, that is a little weird. Maybe I should just go talk to the mailman and see what's up with that. Because mailmen don't normally go to military bases. And so then you go to talk to the mailman and then the mailman gets kind of evasive and kind of offers some weird alibi stuff. And like, you would just be kind of suspicious of the mailman suddenly. Right? And that doesn't mean, so then the implication of that is that, well, if the mailman was on a military base the day before the murder, then you must be assuming that the mailman, it's like, that's maybe the primary suspicion, but I don't know that, right? I don't know that for sure. All I know, and this is how Candace has more or less phrased this argument as far as I can hear it, but you're free to disagree, is that you don't know for sure that that's what that means, but you want to investigate it. And all you can say is that you have a witness that put him there and you can only trust that witness as far as you can trust her, but she is the neighbor. So she does have she can prove that she knows the mailman. She can prove the relevancy of these things. And then so you go to the army base and you actually get confirmation that the mailman was there from multiple different angles. And you're like, well, that's really fucking weird. All right, mailman. Like, I mean, the more accurate is that like, is not necessarily that you can prove that the mailman was there, but that you can prove that the neighbor works there and you can prove that there was a weird meeting there and you don't know if the mailman was there, but you're like, okay, this is getting a little weird. And you still don't know for sure that that has anything to do with the murder. It's just suspicious timing. Okay? It's suspicious timing. And so you just inherently, that's an open thread in your mind. But then if like every mailman in the town starts putting up a big propaganda campaign of like, don't look into mailmen. Mailmen are always innocent. You're an evil person for looking into this mailman. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Then you're like, wait, what are all the mailmen doing? This is weird. This is super weird. We're like, are all the mailmen in on this? I'm very confused. Right? And so it would pique your investigative curiosity. And I jumped in this space when Candace and Harrison were kind of going back and forth because they don't know each other. And it's always easier to kind of get heated with someone that you don't know, that is just like an anonymous voice on the internet, especially when you're being critical of each other's ideas. And I jumped in knowing both of them quite well, actually, to try to like offer a little bit of an olive branch between them to remind everyone that like they're both very smart people in very different ways. But Candace's career is all about chasing current ongoing investigations in the way that she does. And Harrison does a lot of ongoing speculation about the world, and he thinks very, very critically about the world, and he's very much a free thinker. But his job every day is to report the news as it's being reported. And those are just inherently different frames of referencing to data and information and different ways of talking in front of the camera. So I was like, maybe there's a little bit of a disconnect in how you guys each go about investigations, because Harrison is always reporting based on what reporting has come out about the mailman. And Candace is the one that's like going to chase down the mailman and being like, what the fuck were you doing at this base, mailman? Right? So that's kind of the way that I feel about the suspicion of it. And personally, I don't fucking trust Mitch. I'll just say it. I don't trust Mitch. I haven't trusted Mitch since the beginning. And if you guys have noticed, I haven't talked about this story at all. I've purposely avoided this story because I just don't trust Mitch. I trust Candace's ability to vet things, and I know her team's ability to vet things is greater than my own in almost every instance that I've ever had. So in knowing some of what Candace had about proving that Mitch was actually where he said he was, I always knew that there was more to it than a lot of the detractors had to say. But I still don't trust Mitch. And I didn't trust him before people brought up a bunch of old criminal history of his, and maybe more recent. And then people brought up criminal history or possibly lying of the women that are accusing him. And it's all becoming Jerry Springer, which is why I was avoiding it. It's becoming Maury, right? And that doesn't mean it's not important. It doesn't mean it might not lead to something. It doesn't mean it's true. I don't fucking know. But I'm glad someone is out there looking into it. Because someone should look into it. It's an open lead. And later on, I'm sure I'll give more context of the actual pieces of evidence and the timing of when Candace got them and the timing of Mitch Snow getting those pieces of evidence relative to the episode and the story in this moment. Because actually, when you know where the evidence came from, what timing the evidence came from, you realize that this would be the most advanced con in the history of cons if this was just a con. It would be kind of unbelievable. It would almost be a more interesting story if it was a con, because then it's the biggest coincidence in the entire fucking world. Because the metadata of the evidence that Mitch has that he was at that base at that time, that metadata was produced before Charlie was killed. So that would be weird. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We'll get to that when we get to it.
What is the claim being made? I still don't even understand that.
So it matters because why would Brian Harpole be on Fort Huachuca at all, right? It matters because he's giving an alibi, which means he doesn't want to be associated. It could have easily not mattered. Kind of to speak to your credit, he could have been like, yeah, I was at Fort Huachuca with my brother, and my brother's in the military. I was dropping off some food. Okay, that could have been then suddenly a dead end. That would have been nothing. Now, because Mitch had described this as a top,
or he could have just gotten in touch with Candace and been like, I wasn't there, and I'll share whatever you want, but I wasn't there. And if you pursue this story anymore, I'll sue you. Here's a cease and desist. He could have done that. Because a cease and desist is the first step of a lawsuit, as Candace points out here.
Secret meeting in an off-site building, and had described this as top brass at the Pentagon, and said that these sorts of meetings, and I am forgetting the military term, are when you're just about to embark on a mission. I know I'm really uneducated, but military guys will sound better saying that. It was compelling. Okay. Like I said, Brian Harpole was acting funny. He's been acting weird. He's been telling verifiable lies.
Stacey the legend.
And he cared enough to present an alibi, meaning he didn't want people to think he was there, right? So if you have to give someone an alibi, it's because you don't want people to think that you're there.
So again, that would be like the mailman saying, I was with my cousin on that day. I couldn't have been at that military base. And then you go look for a cousin and you don't really find a cousin, and he offers you a message to a guy that says cousin, and you're like, yeah, okay, but that's a little flimsy. It would be kind of like that. I mean, and I know when you draw parallels, it's kind of a straw man, but I'm just saying, it's a little weird that the alibis that are offered are not very concrete, and there's no cease and desist being sent, but there's all these backhanded tactics being done behind the scenes. Is all very strange. It's very strange. It's piqued my interest far more. At first, I was like, whatever. Candace is going to run this story down. I'm just going to ignore it and keep doing what I'm doing, and we'll see what happens. And as the blowback over this story has built, I have gotten way more curious about it, as she's saying. And I think a lot of people probably have. Because it's what? What's going on?
An alibi is not needed if there's nothing to hide. So that's why it matters. I think that's why it matters. And this reaction, rather than being forthcoming, is why it suddenly feels like, okay, this is important, because no one's acting normal. No one's just like, oh yeah, cool, he was there.
And I'm just going to put words into Candace's mouth for a second here. I don't think she's talking about no one's acting normal, like Harrison and people on X and general citizens and like people with opinions on the internet. That's not who she's talking about. She's talking about insiders behind the scenes. She's talking about like influence operations behind the scenes. She's talking about Brian Harple himself. She's talking about TPUSA and Erica. She's talking about like this quiet campaign behind the curtain. That's what's weird. X is always going to be X. X is a shit show, and it's always a shit show, and that's what it is.
Like, it also is, as we have now learned, it's an intel base. He was telling the truth about exactly what building it was. I didn't name the building on my show because I wasn't sure if that would be like a national security problem, but it just happened to be that JTF was borrowing that offsite building, and it was supposed to be a top secret meeting for those purposes. Somebody that was involved in blacking out the windows had sent us a tip.
Someone who is involved in blacking out the windows has sent us a tip. That's interesting to know.
Again, it's how people are reacting to the meeting that lets us know that it's important.
Okay. I mean, I guess
regarding the hotel, I never said it was important. Like I said, my perspective was there's 1,000 different reasons that she could have been at that base. Her mother has a contract or had a contract, has a contract with the DOD. Erica has been open about her mother's ties to the military in the past. She actually did an interview and said that she moved to Arizona because her mother had a contract with the military. So,
and you know, if I wanted to come back to this and remember that part for the future, like a month from now, I could always pull up my boy Webb and just go search for like, hey, didn't Coach Colin have an episode where someone talked about blacking out windows? And I would find it right there. And then I would click a link right there. And then I would wind up right there. Yeah, baby. Yes, we would. Because we already got this episode in. You're dang straight. You're dang straight.
So again, weird thing is when Andrew's like, Erica wasn't in some fort, as if he's never heard of Fort Huachuca. His brother is in the military. His brother is a Captain Curtis.
We're going to hear a lot of people tonight sort of pretend like Candace changed her story on a lot of these different pieces, which she did not in most of these cases, as far as I can tell. And a lot of them are about how she apparently originally claimed that Erica was seen on the 9th, and then she was claimed that Erica was seen on the 8th. As far as I'm aware, she was always saying that the blonde woman had been alleged to have been seen on the 8th. And then the next day was when allegedly this meeting had happened. And that's been my understanding of this all along. And I think that when people get emotional and people start accusing each other and start being really angry at each other, I think a lot of people lower their standard of speech and evidence to just start like being like, fucking, you're changing your story and you're fucking doing this. And I'm kind of making Alex Jones' voice because we're going to look at him saying these things later.
Curtis Colvett, his first cousin is Captain Robert Colvett. So that kind of a language is why I've named this, why it suddenly really matters, right? It was sort of one episode. I didn't exactly dedicate a whole series to it. The reaction has been so almost like violently obsessed that the public is now going, oh, okay, well, it feels like there's something here. I think that's just sort of our natural instinct.
Okay. I mean, I think if you're saying that somebody is,
it's really funny that this guy who she's talking to, and I just want to like focus on her and the clips that are really important, but she pretty much like kind of lays into this guy a little bit because he's acting like he doesn't understand, and he's acting like he's coming from this, I don't know, fair place, but at the same time, he works with Balix Tones. He works with him. So we all know why he's there, and that's why he's starting off his conversation, his speaking with why does all this even matter? And then
to Harrison's credit, he's there because Candace called him there. And was he not going to show up? You know, like he's there because Candace called him there. So let me just turn my light up a little bit. I turned it down earlier. And he does work with Alex Jones. He works for Alex Jones. He's an InfoWars reporter. We'll look at clips later. He doesn't get told what to say. Alex doesn't own his soul. He frequently thinks things differently than Alex.
He ends up being like, this is a nothing burger, and I don't think this is going to be anything.
All that being said, I strongly disagree with Harrison on this topic specifically, but I don't care. Still dope. Still a good guy.
And I know you're insinuating that Erica Kirk had something to do with this, and you say you're not, but I know you are, and all this stuff. And then Candace actually very kindly just kind of goes, yeah, that's nice. That's good. We're going to move on to someone else. Like, I'm not even going to get into it, but let's just focus on why Fort Huachuca is important. But Balix Tones, the fall off needs to be studied, $1 billion in debt. Hey, you know what? Honestly, what would you do if you were $1 billion in debt, huh?
Yeah, never mind.
You ever think of that? Yeah. You might start doing stuff like Balix. You might just start making things up and shouting and screaming and, hooting and hollering, doing whatever you were told, Anyway, let's just jump into this. I don't want to get focused on.
Let's just say that in this industry, it's not the debt that makes you do that.
About Balix just works my nerves, that Balix. That tones. Anyway, let's get into the next clip.
There would be no reason to lie when you have the whole world on your side.
Okay, so I have that on double speed, of course. You guys know me. I'm double speed McCoy, not to be confused with the magnificent, handsome, chiseled Mikey McCoy. I'm just double speed McCoy.
For you. Why are you lying?
Well, that's not going to work.
Well, since you mentioned Andrew Colvett, Candace, if I may jump in,
Sure.
And to address Harrison.
So now this is Sam Parker speaking.
And one of the things that I remember, that I keep in mind throughout this entire investigation, is in an investigation, details matter, but you don't know what details matter until you investigate them.
Right.
And when this, and as an outside observer on this particular story, the Fort Huachuca story, all of a sudden I've been airdropped this detail that one of the top members of Charlie Kirk's security detail is at an Army intelligence base the day before Charlie's assassinated. Now, that's a detail. I don't know what it means. I don't know if it means anything. I don't know if it's important or not important, but that's a detail. That is a definite detail, because
Right.
Brian Harpole's job is to protect Charlie Kirk.
Right.
That's his job. That's his job as one of the top members of this security detail, is to protect Charlie Kirk, who the next day was assassinated. So, this is an important detail. What is one of the top members of the security detail doing at an Army intelligence base the day before? It might not mean anything, but maybe it means something. What does it mean? I don't know. I have to investigate it. Now, how does Andrew Colvett come into this? I'm reminded of the fact that he told you, Candace, that you and Tucker were on some list, and possibly.
I want you to remember that. We're going to go back to that near the end, because somebody else brings up Andrew as well. And we'll get into that. But he's 100% right. You don't know what details matter until you investigate them. And that's why, when I did my video,
Myron Gaines jumped into the space and dropped a really interesting perspective on this, because he used to be a federal investigator. And he just reminded everybody that normally in an investigation, investigators do have to run down leads to dead ends, and they have to run down all sorts of suspicions that may or may not go anywhere. They have to look into the neighbors, and they have to look into the mailman and whatever else comes up. And he pointed out that the main difference here is that Candace is doing that, but she's doing it in front of millions of people every day. And so there's always armchair quarterbacks, and there's always, different. Myron brought a really level perspective to it that was really refreshing, because as someone who had worked in investigations, he understands them very well. And as someone who has worked in this media environment, he understands it quite well. And that's not who was talking right now. Myron had a different section that Coach Collin does not clip. But I just wanted to highlight it, because what Myron said was very on the money, that it's a whole different ball game, and people will criticize Candace for the way she's doing this, but it's like, how else are you going to do it? You got to look into these things. If you're like, her friend was murdered, she's going to look into it. She's not going to stop. And I don't blame her. So she's going to look into it, and it's going to be public. And the best she can do is to just be really clear about, this is what I do know, and I have information to back these things up, and this is what I don't know, and this is speculation, and this is what what he said is he witnessed, but I can't speak for him because I don't have his eyes. And I feel like she's done a pretty damn good job of that for the most part. She's done a better job than almost anyone else on the internet ever does. She's not perfect at it, but she's done a pretty good job of it.
When I was talking about Candace's response to Valhalla, where he was like, case, this is done for anybody who has any logic. And I was like, let's just see where she goes with it. Let's not just close it off yet. And that's just my thinking. And my thinking is like that towards anybody who's looking into Mitch. It's like, keep going.
Keep going.
I know Valhalla said he's kind of done. He had all the information. He wants to bang it out, let everybody know who this guy is, what he is, and just leave it at that. But it's like, I don't know, go deeper if you can. Why not? Let's hear everything about the guy. I don't know.
For clarification, chat's talking about the give, send, go that Candace set up. It's only messed up if he's actually an abuser, and I don't feel confident that we know that he is. if you actually follow the story of people digging up both sides of his past, I'm not entirely confident that the domestic abuse charges and accusations and stuff like that are necessarily all true. If they are, then fuck him and fuck that. And I strongly agree with how Nate Valhalla VFT represented what he knew at the time, what evidence he had, and his condemnation of that behavior. 100%, totally. But this is why I hesitated to get into it, and I hesitated even once people were showing me that kind of stuff. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. I'm not a family court, and it's not my job to be a family court, and I'm going to wait and just see how the evidence plays out when people dig it all up, because I know people are going to dig it all up. And I don't know if he did those things or not. It looks to me like some of it, at least, he did, which is not good. It's not good. But I know that he was on the base, and we'll get into that more in the future. I know he was on the base before Charlie was killed, and I know we have literal digital fingerprint evidence of him being there. Very extensive digital evidence of him being there. So it's like I have to square these two things. A bad person can be in a place where they have evidence or witness to a crime. And so it's just complicated. And that's why I've not been reporting on it a lot, and I've not been hitching my horse to it, because it's just a whole minefield. And I can't help but wonder if it being a minefield is not an accident. And I don't know what direction it's not an accident, but
like maybe something will pop up, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now I understand. Right there. Perfect. You just never know.
You never know.
Let the details keep rolling out, man. Yep. I don't want anybody to stop.
Hitching your midget
people
horse.
People email me all the time about Charlie being alive, and I'm going to make a video on that eventually, but it's like, let them keep going down that app.
Oh, what about the money? I don't know if you mean in the Give, Send, Go, but the Give, Send, Go has not been given to Mitch yet. Mitch has said that he doesn't want it unless his facts prove out to be true and actually lead the investigation forwards. And Candace, I think, is probably not going to give him the money if it turns out to be that he like really clearly is actually abusive and shit like that. It's undecided yet. At this point, none of it has been given to Mitch. So,
avenue. There's people who are still towards the detonator, the palm gun, like, electrocution now. It's like, let people just go off and figure out what makes sense and what doesn't. Just let them. Who cares?
Yep.
It's weird. It's weird that all of a sudden,
once people are honing in on a very credible detonation theory, a very credible shape charge microphone detonation theory is starting to get talked about, suddenly it's Maury out here. Suddenly we are all distracted by people's past and by domestic violence and all this shit, by the family courts. And I don't know if it's just Fort Huachuca or maybe if it's more than just Fort Huachuca, but it's just happens to coincide with largely Barron digging up and loudspeakering John Bray's theories about a shape charge explosion in the microphone. So,
and going to what Candace said within these two clips, Candace talking about the reaction. The reaction is odd, man. Like, just let people go. Like, if you know something, let that be the thing that you know, and let that be the reason why you don't go down the avenue that everybody else is going down. It just kind of makes sense to me, especially when it's a crowdsourced type of thing. That's the thing when an investigation is crowdsourced. No one has any right to say this is a dead end. If somebody's like, I'm going. Right?
So like Nate got in touch with me and was like, yo, I've got all this shit on Mitch Snow. He's a piece of shit. We should save Candace from this story. We should stop her from talking about it. Like other stuff. He wasn't he wasn't being aggressive with me at all. We'll get to that later. But I was kind of just like, I'll convey a message, but like, I'm not going to tell people what to say or not to say. I'm not going to tell people what to do. And I'm also not going to jump on your bandwagon either, because like, I don't know, man, you should go down that and you should expose all of that. But like, I'm going to do what I'm doing. I'm going to keep reporting on what I'm reporting on, because shit's complicated out here. And you never know what's getting fed where for what reasons. You never know what exactly is going on until often long after. So just let people dig. Let them go down the whole rabbit holes they're going to go down. And if they're getting distracted or they're getting tricked or they're getting played, then, you know, they'll learn from that. And we'll all learn from watching it, right? You don't have to, like, right? There's Fed shit out here all over the place. There's psyops flying left and right. People are going to get tricked. People are going to get played. Some people are fucking in on it. Just sit back and watch the crazy show and try to learn as much as you can. And so I was, you know, I'll talk about it more in a bit when it comes up, but I was kind of like, hey man, like I'm not going to fucking try to tell anyone what to say, and I'm not going to hitch my horse to any wagon, and I'm not like the arbiter of Candace or anything like that. So
I'm doing this. Then they're doing this. That's it. You don't get to be like, no, you have to stop and do, like, no, that's actually not how crowdsourcing works. Everybody is doing
it's really
their
that
own
simple.
thing, and it's all compiling. It's all compiling. Speaking of which, did you hear about what Ian's doing? Oh, it'll be like a whole video in and of itself.
Did you hear about what Ian's
making
doing, dog?
It's a database with all of our videos. It's so wild.
We got Coach Colin right here, bro.
I can't even get into it right now.
We got Coach Colin right there.
Episode's going to be like an hour long.
Yeah,
but
what's up, Coach?
What that guy's doing. Just shout out to Ian. Incredible. If you don't know what I'm talking about.
Coach, I'll hit you up on the DMs. I'll send it your way for the beta testing, bro. I'll let you beta test it. We're going to need some journalists to beta test it with us before we give it out to the public to make sure that the public doesn't break it right away. So, Coach, I'll hit you up. I would love to see other YouTube journalists use this shit and test it out and come up with use cases that we hadn't thought of before.
I'll make a video on it, man. But let's move on to alibis. Let's jump right in to alibis. We're going to start off. Let me see who we're starting off with. I believe it's
Heavy
Brian
Lumber.
Harpole.
Thank you. Thanks for
then
gifting
we're going to
them subs.
jump over to Candace talking about messaging Brian Harpole, getting silence from him, Brian and Turning Point and how their situation actually went. To have a clip a little bit about that. I didn't realize this. Turns out he actually was fired. I didn't realize this. I heard it, but Candace actually is verifying it from Turning Point's mouth because they have not spoken about this publicly. And then Erica failing her alibi test with Candace. There's a reason why Erica went to Gary from Paramount Tactical instead of going to Candace. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And you'll find out about that in a second. Let's start off. Let's go. Where's it at? What, are we kidding me? What?
What?
What are we talking about here?
What's going on, bro? What's
just
cracking?
ridiculous.
What's
To
cracking?
look further into that. Okay, well, that's another like interesting thing that's happening. I would like to look further into that. Now, in terms of people saying
Did
that,
Gary delete a video?
you know, Erica doesn't.
Did Gary delete a video? What? What's going on?
Alibi. I didn't ask Erica for an alibi. So when suddenly I realized that Paramount Tactical was speaking with Andrew Colvett and she was providing an alibi to Andrew Colvett, well, then suddenly now, if you're going to provide an alibi, then let's provide an alibi. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm happy to just like communicate whatever that alibi is. I never demanded it privately. I didn't demand it in her face. And I still don't, even if she had said, yeah, I was at Fort Huachuca, I was at a hotel and I was dropping off a package, that doesn't necessarily put her at the meeting the next day. But Mitch did say that the person who he thinks looks like Cabot Phillips was at that meeting the next day. So obviously that's interesting. Like, obviously, if we're investigating this, we should just, like, we could check it off the list and move on. I have messaged Brian Harpole, just so you guys know, thus far, I want to say 4 times, at least 3 times, asking him. Again, we can't say he was willing to give his flights, but doesn't want to also just give his metadata or a picture or something they took a text message at that time to clear his name.
Okay.
You either want to give an alibi or you don't want to give an alibi. You either are saying, I don't owe you an alibi, I don't want to answer at all.
Gary did not delete a video. Paramount did not delete the video. Okay, cool. We're groovy.
But if
It's
you're
a
gonna
pretty
do something
embarrassing video,
halfway,
though,
then
not
you
gonna
should
lie.
Provide a full alibi. Now, I will say that I had some communication. I did message also once the thing exploded with Andrew Colvett because he's just getting on my nerves. Like, really, I have been so nice.
I have had people messaging me from the inside, from the outside, from all around the sides about how much they do not trust Andrew Colvett and how much they do not like Andrew Colvett since the very beginning. I don't know the guy. I don't have an opinion on him other than the publicly facing image of him, which isn't great. But oh boy, do people have opinions about Andrew Colvett.
in terms of what I have told the public about things that Andrew Colvett told me. He's starting to like a little bit play with the bull, and we're getting real close. We're getting real close to me just saying, if you guys really think that I have not been fair, you will really recognize how fair I have been if he keeps pressing me. And I felt very pushed. But
I would love to know what that means.
I'll tell you what that means, Coach. It means that Candace has a fuckload more sources and archived information and things to say than she says and then she puts out there. Just like everyone that's deep in this industry, everyone that's been around, everyone that has a lot of connections and sources, she knows a lot of people. And people talk, and they share screenshots and all sorts of stuff. And I can only imagine, speculatively, that Candace, because I know that Candace protects her sources quite well. I know that Candace will hold on to things and not just blow them out, like not just blow people up. And in this case of Charlie Kirk being murdered, she's been a little more liberal with sharing things that she would otherwise not. But yeah, I bet that she has a lot about Andrew Colvett back there. I bet she has a lot of stuff about TPUSA and other people there that she's not shared because it's just not exactly as relevant to Charlie specifically. That would be my guess.
Because she must be talking about more private conversations that they've had because he was a source at one point for her. And I wonder what she's talking about putting out there. You know, I really do think from hearing Candace, from hearing what Andrew has let out, from seeing his reaction when he actually is being the spokesperson for Turning Point and how he's handled things, I think he was so close to Charlie that whatever happened to Charlie, I don't think it was random. I don't think it was just random Tyler doing his thing. And whatever happened, I think he might be in danger as well.
Coach has a different opinion of Andrew Colvett than me. And that's fine. I personally do not believe that Andrew Colvett is all that great of a guy based on what I have seen. But who knows? I don't know. I like having people that are on the reporting, on the investigation, that have different opinions. Because it means that they will run down different leads. It means that if you don't fucking believe this part of the story, they'll go take care of that part of the story for you so you don't have to. And if you're so sure that you're right, then just sit back and watch, and they'll embarrass themselves a little bit. They'll get caught in the mud. They'll get tripped up. They'll get on a bad story, right? So don't worry about it. You know, I'm talking about Fort Huachuca here. It's like if someone is going down the wrong direction, just let them. It's fine. You don't have to like stop them from doing it. That's kind of weird.
I'm not saying like it just from the way that he acts, and if enough stuff comes out, it seems like he's putting himself in danger because what's being revealed is that he gave out a lot of information that he probably wasn't supposed to give out. He probably wasn't supposed to say anything to Candace or Tucker or Benny Johnson. He probably wasn't supposed to have anybody know that he put those text messages and gave those text messages to the authorities. Like there's probably a lot that wasn't, you know what I mean? And he's getting found out left and right. And he like got rid of his entire Instagram because of it.
He did.
And he got rid of all his tweets.
Andrew Colvett deleted his entire Instagram. A PR official, the public relations guy for TPUSA, deleted his entire public Instagram. That's not something you do if you're a PR official. That's a valuable business asset. That is an extremely valuable business asset. And we went into it like a couple weeks ago into this TikToker that had been, I guess, Instagrammer that had been commenting at him, and he commented back and then deleted his Instagram account, and she like recorded it and talked about it in two different videos. It was all very weird. Very weird.
It's before September 10th before September 10th, he got rid of all of his tweets. Like something's going on with that guy, you know? Like Barron said, you got to get your soul clean. That's what he said to Andrew. Let's keep going.
By that Paramount Tactical thing. These people are lunatics, blah, blah, blah. It's like, bro, send me a text and I could have shut it down immediately. But you're like I'm assuming you're also the person talking to speaking to Alex, because Alex did say on his show that he spoke to Turning Point USA people, and like he had Brian Harpole's flight. So it's pretty obvious. It seems like they're working behind the scenes, and that's annoying me. It's annoying me a lot, actually. Anyways.
I like how Candace has reverted to just being like, it's annoying. It's annoying me. I'm fed up with it. I'm over it.
So once I saw that Andrew Colvett was speaking with Paramount Tactical and being, I don't know, I guess sort of denigrating what we were doing, I then was like, okay, let me text someone more responsible at Turning Point USA and ask, hey, do you guys want to give me an alibi? So I put Andrew Colvett and the COO in a chat, and I was like, hey, just figured we could have a direct line and you can just give me Erica.
Well, this is interesting. I wanted to know about when did Andrew Colvett delete his account, and I remembered that I had talked about it. And so I looked it up because I did talk about it, especially when you can tell that the FBI has already made up its mind and has no interest in pursuing any foreign leads or anything to watch this piece of the story play out a little more. I'm a little nervous because things are about to get very hairy. This turned into the pile right there. This is the clip. I just found the clip. You guys might find it a little spicy that fast. This is sort of some Instagram drama where apparently Andrew Colvett deleted his Instagram account cold in the middle of the night about 2 weeks ago when some questions came up. Do you see how fucking fast we just clip checked that to the exact clip? Because what I did is I realized that I actually had talked about this story as I was saying it to you. And you probably saw my body language realize that and be like, hey, Webb, did Ian Carroll ever talk about Andrew Colvett deleting his account? And Webb was like, yes, actually he did. Here's a citation. Here's a citation. Here's a citation. Here's a citation. Link. And then that link opens my video where I talked about it at the exact timestamp that I talked about it at. That is so revolutionarily game-changing. Okay? Because Coach Colin he couldn't remember when, and he was kind of like, I think it was before September 10th. And right here in this clip, we know that actually it was not. It was like a month ago, because this video is from 2 weeks ago, and you can see there the Instagram is from 2 weeks ago.
Entire Instagram
so it was like a month ago.
No, because something is off here, and I'm not going to pretend it's not. Last night, I tagged Andrew Colvett in the comments of one of my videos, literally just tagging him in this comment saying he should sit down with Candace Owens and have a chat. Nothing dramatic, right? And around 5 o'clock this morning, I woke up and had a notification that Andrew Colvett had responded to my comment telling me to private message him. But when I clicked it, it was gone, like wiped, deleted. The comment was gone, the page was gone, like I had hallucinated the whole thing. So I go digging and tell me why the account I had just tagged hours earlier was completely deleted. As in, Instagram said that the page does not exist. But wait, because it gets even weirder.
Right? Isn't that fucking crazy? The ability to just clip pull like that is a total game changer. A total game changer. So we're just going to keep it open over here in case we need to clip pull anything else.
Because alibi, and I'd be happy to publish it because I'm not interested in like throwing mud on someone's name. I just want to get to the truth. That conversation was had yesterday, and they did give.
And no, she did not get blocked. I went and double checked it. It's gone. It gone. Unless he blocked everybody. All sorts of people double checked it. It gone.
Give me an indication of what she was doing, which was making dinner for Charlie. I have asked for, metadata to show that it was, Charlie that she was texting, and I'm still waiting for that. So the last conversation I had with them.
See, Candace does this thing where she's very transparent about, she just says what she knows. She just says what's real. She's like, and sometimes she doesn't know everything. Sometimes she gets things wrong, right? But she's like, this is what I knew. This is who I sent messages to. This is what they said. I asked these questions. I haven't heard back. Just the information. That's not her accusing them. That's just her being straight with you, which is an incredibly rare trait in this industry. Okay.
I think that was yesterday, Sunday at around 1:00 p.m. ish, my time, Central, I think. And they said that Erica got busy with the kids and that they were going to get me something. So I'm still waiting on that. Just so you guys know that I have been responsible and speaking to the people directly trying to get the information.
So from here, I'm going to show you another clip because this is at like 26 minutes in, right? But closer.
Dude, Coach is going to be so stoked when he gets Webb. Coach is going to be so stoked when he can just grab clips like that. Bam, baby.
To
it's going to save so much time.
Hour 25, she actually reveals this. Let me see if I can just jump over to this clip. I know I'm going to be jumping a little bit. I hope this doesn't ruin what happened with that whole Erica metadata thing right now, I believe. Let's listen to this.
Perfect example, because they did. Like you might not have been on earlier, but I reached out to Turning Point again because, like I said, I'm not interested in chasing rabbits. That like I want to actually know what's real and what's not. Sunday. What's today? On Sunday, I think around 1:00 p.m. I got on the phone with them. I reached out on Saturday. Got on the phone with them sometime after Mass on Sunday, and they were like, hey, like, yeah, she was like making dinner with, like, organizing or making dinner with Charlie. Like, we're going to send you a message of like between her and Charlie speaking. And I was like, great, amazing. I will literally update Twitter right now and say like Erica was making dinner with Charlie. And they send me a message, but the contact was blacked out. So I went back, obviously, and I was like, hey, like, the contact's blacked out. Like, this could be a message between like me and George for all I know. And I was like, do you just mind like just sending, like, I know Charlie's number, obviously. So just like, show me the contact. And they were like, we blocked it out because it's like a pet, I don't know, like a nickname that she has for Charlie or whatever. And she just didn't want you to see it. And I was like, okay, well.
That's kind of weird. It's a little weird. We're talking about a murder investigation and you're worried about revealing a pet nickname? The pet name?
You can just like change the contact name and just send me just send me a video of you opening it so I can see Charlie's number and tell my audience like this is confidently a text chain between Charlie and Erica. And then they just said, look, it's Sunday. I think it was like 1:00 or something. And she's busy with the kids, but we'll get you that. And so I waited. It's now been obviously more than 24 hours. It's been like 30.
That is a terrible, terrible thing that's taken place. So this is the reason why they went to Gary. That reveals why they went to Gary. They went to Gary
because Gary doesn't do his due diligence is kind of what it seems.
Because Andrew thought he could just send Gary a thing and say, hey, look at this picture. And don't share it, but just to verify that's where she was. So you can just say that. And Gary was just reading the whole thing live in front of everybody. And he was, he even read the don't share. So that went up in smoke. But
Gary did more to expose Turning Point and to help out the side of questions this last week than anyone else. More than Barron, more than Candace, more than me, more than Coach, more than anyone. Gary just dropped the bombs repeatedly last week live on YouTube. And it was amazing. It was amazing. Say thanks to Gary next time you see him.
That's the reason they went to Gary. Because they could just send Gary a picture where the kids' faces are blanked out. They know Gary's not going to go, well, that kid looks like Gary. Listen, Gary's great. I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's really nice. Everybody's somebody's kid. You know what I mean? And, we love our kids. We really do. So I'm sure he's great. But Gary's not going to go, oh, well, that looks like a boy. And it looks like a boy who's like maybe 4 years old. And Erica doesn't have a boy that's 4 years old. And that the girl there, that looks like it could be the girl's age, but I don't know. You have your finger over it, and I can't see anything except for September 9th, 8:33.
We're just going to drop into Barron's stream from last I think Sunday here real quick.
Work from Gary from Paramount Tactical. Gary from Paramount Tactical has done more to support Candace Owens than anyone else over the weekend. I can't think of anyone who's done more to support her and provide actual real evidence to support her inquiry into the events at Fort Huachuca than Gary from Paramount Tactical has done. He should be commended for his work.
You have proof of this? He says, but it's worth saying Erica wasn't in some fort in Tucson. The internet's gone insane. She woke up next to Charlie on the 9th, went to the office with Charlie all day, woke him up from a nap before a fox hit, went to dinner with Charlie. Literally, people are lunatics. And then the next one, I will show you guys.
And remember, Gary first came out like questioning the narrative, questioning the bullet, and then just hard right turned into trust the narrative. Real hard. And then hard to right turned into dedicate your whole channel to attacking Candace Owens, which is a choice.
I want to pause here real quickly. Because
we got to get Baron's reaction to this
same
part.
Argument that Erica made when she was talking. Child is trashing you. You must be a bad guy. You can't. Nothing you say can be believed. Sure.
This is where Gary had Mitch Snow's estranged son on his podcast to debunk Mitch Snow, and it didn't go so well.
Surely no one will believe you're at Fort Huachuca. After that, well, let's see how that went. I will suggest it did not go as planned.
Security clearance.
Or if he does walk into the Joint Task Force staff duty, he might.
So Gary's holding the fake police report from when Mitch got arrested on the base, and oh, it's so silly. This is obviously a fake report, right, Mitch's son? Like, isn't this a ridiculous fake police report, Mitch's son?
Might end up detained and outside getting the canines called on him as per this report, which, again, I don't even know if this report is real or not.
Oh, Gary doesn't know if the report's real or not. Hey, Mitch Snow's son. That's probably your indication to play into that. Lean into that, Mitch Snow's son. Let's go with we don't know if the report's real. What say you,
Baron
Mitch
was
Snow's
cooking
son?
this night.
There's so much craziness going on with this report. It's not a plate number.
They called me on September 9th.
Hold on. They called him. The Fort Huachuca called the guy. Fort Huachuca called Mitch Snow's son on September 9th.
For real.
It gets worse. I want you to count the number of times Gary blinks. Watch the fight or flight response kick in. All that military training out the window the moment the kid outs you. All that military training just goes away. All the ability to withstand the pressure. All the ability to be cool under pressure, cool under fire. Watch how many times he blinks.
Look at that face.
Asking me if I knew anything about a Mitch Snow and telling me that I was listed as his number one emergency contact. And I just remember sitting there for like a minute, like, I don't know Mitch Snow. I don't know why I'd be on somebody's emergency contact.
Did you see the big breath?
Awkward. It's a little awkward, bud. It's a little awkward.
I think he sucked in like 9 gallons of air.
Yeah.
He blinked 10 times in under 5 seconds and then.
Yeah, that is how that went. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All praise Gary. Thank you, Gary, Paramount Tactical. You have done good work for us. I appreciate it. So let's remind ourselves. Candace has digital metadata from multiple pieces of metadata, like multiple pieces of digital content from Mitch confirming that his cell phone was on that base. And I have reason to believe that that also confirms that he was on that base beyond just his cell phone being there. We'll leave it at that. But it's still up in the air if he's telling the truth about other parts of the story. Candace has said that she has corroborated personally things like that building was the right building and these other things about it. And then Gary airs this episode and we get confirmation from Mitch's own son, his estranged son, who literally didn't even know that Mitch had changed his name to Mitch Snow, that he got called by military police on September 9th, corroborating one of the unbelievable parts of the story, that he'd gotten like detained by police and like they wanted a K9 and all this shit. And that's a pretty important part of the story. And so it's like, let's assume that Mitch is an evil, woman-beating piece of shit that deserves our condemnation, rightly. The story about Fort Huachuca is still checking out. I mean, let's not give him money at that point. But the story about Fort Huachuca is still checking out. Real good. So that's where it's like, people that are just trying to like blow that away is kind of weird. Maybe he's wrong about who he thought he saw there. Maybe he's like trying to pull a move about who he thought he saw there. Maybe he's just making that part up. I don't know. But why do you care if Candace runs it down? Because clearly he was there.
I don't know if this is a proper alibi. Gary's not doing none of that. Gary's just like, perfect alibi. There's a picture. There's a finger over it. Perfect finger. I know that's Erica's finger. And those are some young people there. Perfect. That's all I need to see. They knew Gary would do something like that. But if you send that to Candace, Candace goes, if you could just, and they go, oh, well, you know, Erica doesn't want you to know that she used to call Charlie Schmooky Bookie. So
it's really private.
I'm sorry. You know, there's only so many people who are allowed to see that his nickname on her phone was Schmoopy Boopy.
Maybe his nickname on her phone was like some like, maybe I shouldn't say this. Maybe that'd be defamation. Maybe it wasn't a pet name. Maybe it was some other kind of name. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know. Use your imagination.
Hey, it could be. It could be. Why is that ridiculous, what I just said? You don't know. You don't know. I'm sure your wife has some kind of nickname for you. Your husband has some kind of nickname for you.
For me, it's my mark. That's what I put it in my phone. My girlfriend's actually in my phone as my mark. That's just me personally, though. That's just me personally. Handle this one. That's what I put in my phone for my girlfriend. Just personally. I'm just saying. I don't know about you guys, but who knows? Not like Mark the name, bro.
I don't get it, man. I don't get it.
I don't
get how you could fail it. This is the thing.
Chat's unhinged.
Even if you're a liar, like if you're a liar, I'm not saying Erica is, okay? But at least do it.
You're not in my phone as my mark. Gigi's in my phone as baby girl. Your husband is in your phone as husband?
Better. Like you have multiple people to sit around and figure out the lie together. So you just go, guys, how can we lie perfectly? She wants a picture. How do we lie all together? How do we figure this out, guys?
Think it through.
And everybody just has a hand in the lie. I'm not saying that's what they should do, but if you got 3-4 people and you're making things up, like, put your heads together. Come on.
Get your head in the game.
This is crazy. Just send the picture and just blank out the name. Yeah, so it's from Cabot. It's for sure from Cabot. It's fine. Just black out Cabot's name.
Coach Colin is pointing out something very important here, though. In the media space, they have a lot of ways to get information to come from people like me and Coach and Gary, whether or not they know it, so that the media space gets flooded with this information that's coming from organic sources. It's like money laundering, but it's information laundering. When you need to launder money, you take your dirty money and you give it to an organization that doesn't ask too many questions. And then you pass it through that organization back out into the legal lit markets as clean money where no one knows where it came from. When you need to launder information, you take information to a mouthpiece that doesn't ask too many questions, or that you own, or whatever else. And you hand them that information and you get them to give that information out to the world. as though it was organic information, that the information space is just like, oh, podcasters are talking about this. Oh, my favorite investigator thinks this thing. Oh, a journalist thinks that this is what happened. You see what I'm saying? It's information laundering, and it happens to the best of us. It happens to everybody now and then. And the longer you spend in this industry, the more you learn about it, and the more you learn that you too are vulnerable to it, and the more you learn how to guard against it, shall we say. And it sounds like Gary the Green Beret could use a lesson in how people can get played as mouthpieces.
Okay. And let's just send her that. Yeah, just black it out, huh? What?
Oh, Coach, you're stunting. Coach is just being silly.
I'm just saying.
Just saying. He's just
I'm
saying.
just saying. Again, I don't condone it. But if you're going to do it right. Because this is just ridiculous. A clear lie. And Candace is very, very nice for not just being like, oh, you guys are lying to me, huh? You know that, right? Just wanted to make sure that you know you're lying. All right, so let's go back to the first clip I wanted to show you guys. This is at 8:33. This is when she started talking about alibis again. This is with, it's like some of them work and some of them don't. Let me just
didn't realize that JTF had gotten back.
When I go to 8:33, it doesn't work.
Coach, we're going to get you Webb, bro, and it'll work, dog. We're going to get you Webb, bro, okay? We'll hook it up with the clipper, and you'll get it.
Oh,
Yeah,
is that what's going on?
Yeah, I got you,
So when I
bro.
click on 8:33, then all of a sudden we got technical difficulties.
But when Webb clicks on 8:33, we got you, bro. We got you. Don't worry about it, Coach. We got you.
I see how it works.
Yeah.
Let me get this
And
here.
I knew Erica and I had a date to meet on that Monday. So that was Thursday. That's the just stop snippet. Friday, I had no show. Sunday, I want to tell you this part because this is important. On December 14th, I received a text message from Ian Carroll. I hope he is in this chat. I'd like him to jump in case I get.
Welcome. I'm in the chat. So this is, I think, when I got a whole bunch of text messages being like, Ian, get in here.
Anything wrong here. But the text message was to me and my producer, and he was like, hey, like, I have something for you guys that I need to discuss. It's pretty urgent. When I got around to calling Ian, he told me that basically he had received information from someone. He didn't want to give me the name of the person, and that definitively, like, Brian Harpole was preparing some huge lawsuit against me.
Yeah. So it was in the whisper sphere. I got information from a source that I don't want to disclose about that, and checked it with a couple others that knew something about it. And I just wanted to give her the information of like, hey, this is what I'm hearing. FYI, be aware. And that's when Candace was like, rightly was like, well, I haven't received any cease and desists. So to me, it sounds like smoke. And I was like, sounds like you'd be right to me. You know better about this than I do. And these are the kind of things that I tend to learn from Candace in these types of situations where I've not been sued for this kind of stuff before. And she knows how these things go. And I'm like, and I'm attentive to the media space, and I have this information. I'm like, based on how I have it, I wouldn't be surprised if you're right. And I trust your judgment. You do your thing. I'm just giving you the information. You'll do good. She has not been wrong about most of this so far.
And I was like, that's really weird. And I think he said like some big like Texas lawsuit. I don't know what but like basically it was like, it's a big lawsuit and like, you know, you're going to want to be careful talking about this. And I was like, okay, well, that just can't be accurate because that's not how lawsuits work. I know about lawsuits. And I said, I think someone's intentionally giving you bad information to try to scare me from talking about the Fort Huachuca thing anymore.
I actually think that information was being passed through multiple mouthpieces based on how it got to me. I think that there was multiple, I suspect that there were multiple chains of that information spreading throughout the information space through multiple people, hoping that it would go through various conduits to get to her at some point. That's what I suspect was happening at that point. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I would guess. Because I didn't get it from Andrew Colvett, for example. I've never spoken to Andrew Colvett. It was being passed around from person to person.
Because
That's
like
very interesting. Yeah. I have to stop right there because Tim Pool actually said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
he brought it up very casually, and he said, I have good information.
And I didn't talk to Tim either because Tim doesn't like me very much. And I wouldn't even trust information that I got from Tim anyways.
Back when he said the whole thing that Candace was using or had used, he said using, and then he switched to had used at some point. So he's kind of talking out of both sides of his mouth there. And he was saying that she had used Brian Harpole and Charlie's security, and that she was lying about it. And then he said he couldn't say much because Brian Harpole, there were lawsuits coming. That's what he put out there. So Candace is actually on the nose.
Which was bullshit from the start. At least in my experience. I was like, that is obviously not true. That's not who Candace's security is at all. Not one bit. And that's ridiculous. They're Charlie Kirk's security. They're flying all over the place with Charlie Kirk all the fucking time. They're busy. They're not hanging out in Nashville at Candace's house. That was a very weird accusation, honestly. Like, a very weird episode in Tim Pool's whole trajectory here. And, you know, wouldn't you know it, we can pull that clip. It keeps opening in the wrong window,
When you're
though.
sad or you're in pain and you're confused. When you're hurting and you don't know why.
Ian didn't say, but I'm going to say, because I always get super heated on this.
What up,
Candace
Webb?
Owens has the same security team as Turning Point and Charlie Kirk did.
How fast is that clip, bro? How fast is that clip grab? What's up? I've got the other clip, too, if you want it. Do you want the other clip? There we are.
Shouldn't give two No one's out for her. She's lying about all of this. You told me you went to her house and she's got a 4-foot wall and one fat guy.
Those aren't very nice words now, are they, Tim? Maybe we should calm down, pump the brakes a little, and just calm down, Tim. Yeah, what a tool, right? What a tool! Webb is blowing my mind live on stream right now, dude. I haven't even gotten to play with it yet because I've just been building and building and building. And Webb is so damn useful for way more than just pulling clips. But I've been building this whole clip builder module too. Oh, it's so great, dude. We just got clips for days.
Thinking that this is just made to distract her because Tim's entire performance was just to distract her, I think. Just to distract everybody, quite honestly.
Yeah.
Because if you notice, when Tim started flipping out is exactly when she first brought up Fort Huachuca. It actually coincides perfectly. From the time he started going at Candace,
True,
was exactly when she brought up Fort Huachuca.
That's some of the behind the scenes stuff that Candace is referring to. Is a lot of people started coming after her right then.
Very interesting. Man, we're figuring things. We're learning together, guys.
I hadn't yet posted Mitch to tell a story, but I had indicated that like I might do more with Mitch or I might pass him off to Ian Carroll. Next thing you know, Ian Carroll's getting a phone call and told that I'm about to get sued for mentioning Brian Harpole. So I thought that was like a little weird. And I basically said to Ian, I think, yeah, intentionally somebody gave you bad information. You first have to start with the cease and desist. And I don't factually know if what Mitch said was wrong. That ends. Monday is when Erica and I obviously had to sit down for 4.5 hours, and Turning Point kind of hosted a Q&A, which I thought was unfair and against the rules, I will say, because we agreed to not speak about anything. But that went on. Obviously, on the Tuesday, I came back and actually, let's go back to the meeting with Erica, because this is also relevant. During that meeting, I did not bring up the Fort Huachuca thing because I, first and foremost, needed to continue vetting various aspects of it, but also I have Brian Harpole's number. And so I was just going to text Brian Harpole directly. But it is worth saying that during that interview, Erica gave me Brian Harpole's flights and said, like, you know, I know that you mentioned that you thought Brian Harpole was at this interview. Here are his flights. Now, you guys would later see those flights because Alex Jones then mysteriously has these flights.
These flights have been getting passed around. I had seen those flights earlier in various forms. They've been getting passed around with this sort of information of like, shut up, Candace. So it's just a little weird how information is flowing in the information space right now. And it's flowing through people that I don't necessarily know if they realize how it's flowing. But it's definitely not Candace's first rodeo. And thankfully by now it's not my first rodeo either.
I took the flights from her. I thought it was interesting because I didn't bring up Fort Huachuca, and I wasn't intending to bring up Fort Huachuca, and I hadn't mentioned Erica on the show. And I looked at them and I said, "Oh, well, this is not an alibi because the meeting ended at 7:30 a.m. and planes that left Fort Huachuca were back in Texas. The SAM plane, as we know, went straight to Texas, and I think Brian Harpo's flight left at like 3:42 or something in the afternoon in Texas. So I was like, this does not conflict with the idea that he could have been leaving a meeting at 7:30 a.m. So it's a pretty short flight to Texas. So I said that, and that was it. But I said, but thank you for giving me this because now I can tell people that I have these flights and also that he doesn't yet have an alibi for that morning. I just wanted to mention that because I feel like that's important. Anyways.
And again, doesn't mean he's guilty. Doesn't mean he was there. Doesn't mean it was a planning meeting about the assassination. It just means that it's suspicious and it's kind of weird. And the way that the information is flowing and the way that it's all happening feels like a psyop. It feels like a psyop. It feels really weird. Doesn't feel like the way that I would be flowing my information if I was, like, for example, one of my favorite ones, Braceletgate. When I'm on Candace Owens' show and I've got a red bracelet on and the whole internet freaks out about my red bracelet, and they're like, what's the story here? You're Illuminati. And I was just like, I'm not. This is the story, and it's a weird story. I mean, it's fucking a weird story. It's like, I'll tell you the story, and I told you the story. And it's like, that's the truth. That is what it is. And it's not like, if I wanted to lie and try to make it a more normal story, I could have lied and tried to make up some normal story. But it's just a weird story. It's like, you know what? This is my girlfriend's family's background of how they used to buy these bracelets when they were kids. And her dad bought us both ones because we were about to go travel. And that is what it is. And the story hasn't changed. It's been the same story. And I just offered it, and it was what it was. And I offered all the proof I was comfortable offering without doxing people. And I moved on. Because because it is sure, if you're deep in the conspiracy lore, that's suspicious. And that's totally fine if you want to be suspicious of that. I got no problem with that. I have no problem with people that think that I'm something nefarious. That's fine. You should be suspicious of everyone. And I'm not excluded from that. But I don't feel some need to massage an alibi and make up new things and all these other things. It's just it is what it is. This is the truth. Here's what I got. Have it. And if you're happy with that, you're happy with that. And if you're not, I'm moving on. I'm doing my thing. So that, so it's a little weird when it's this weird roundabout alibi sleuthing to other people and the alibi doesn't quite add up. And then it's lawsuits that aren't coming are being threatened. And it's just a little weird. It feels like a psyop.
Obviously, when we went back on air on Tuesday, I recapped I was tired and just kind of went through kind of the high points or the things that we had discussed. It was a very long meeting. On Wednesday, we broke the story about Charlie's car and that we actually had exclusive photos of what the inside of the car looked like.
Covered in fragmented black plastic, it would seem, that imply some sort of exploded plastic device, it might seem. That pushed the story quite a bit further forwards, I would say. Yeah. That was a big day. That was a very big day.
On Thursday, I made the decision to have Mitch on my show. And the reason why we made that decision is because we were then working in the background to verify other aspects of his story, and we were able to do that. I now felt beyond confident. He had sent me all of his metadata. He had sent me, as you guys already saw, his ID cards, his former passports, his new passports. He even sent me, now I can't say that this Mexican person was in the cartel, but his story was that he was being hunted by the cartel. He certainly had a like court documents documenting that a Spanish Christian had broken into his home and whatever had happened. So I believed him. I believed his story. I knew that he was a Green Beret. Like I told you, I verified that information right away. And I knew that he had stumbled upon this meeting and he thought this is why they were pulling him aside. They may have thought something else, but it was substantially true. Everything he said was substantially true.
And substantially, I would like to, hopefully this will get it to pull up in this window. I would substantially like to pull up this episode with the car stuff. Because I figured I would just ask Webb. I'd be like, hey, what day did Candace reveal photos about the inside of Charlie Kirk's car and black things on the floor? Oh, Candace revealed photos from inside of Charlie Kirk's car on December 17th, 2025 in her episode titled Breaking News, Received Photos of Charlie's Car After the Assassination. Click. And here it is. And I could search and I could be like photo and I could, go down and it's probably in this clip, I would guess.
I find that to be very strange. I have
literally right here.
And about this up letting you guys think, you guys know that we're not making up that we have these photos.
Literally right there. Boom. Just like that, dog.
We do. We have these photos
just
and
like
they
that.
tell a story. And I think it's important.
And you can do it in real language. I was like, hey, Candace said she had photos on one day. What day was that? What episode was that? Wasn't Candace talking about this other thing at some point? And it's like, yeah, he or she talked about that thing and be like, okay, but what was that one name? It's crazy, dude. You don't have to have an exact quote. You don't have to know the day. You don't have to know the episode. You don't even have to know who talked about it. You can just say one of these podcasters talked about this thing and I forget who it was. And it'll be like, well, all these people talked about it. It's crazy town.
Whether or not he saw Brian Harpole, I don't really know, right? Now, of course, the decision to have him on, I was aware that I could not say to him, I felt that that would have been super inauthentic if I was like, hey, tell your story, but like, let's not talk about the fact that you think 100% that you saw Erica. Like that would have just been inauthentic. And I feel like people know that, I don't know, you guys would have just like sussed that out in 4 seconds.
I don't think she's wrong about that. I think she's right. And you can argue about whether it was right or not to have Mitch on. I'm glad she did because it pushed something further forwards, whether it pushed a PSYOP further forwards or whether it pushed a scammer further forwards or whether it pushed real legitimate information further forwards. It pushed someone who was at Fort Huachuca that day further forwards. And maybe it's nothing. Maybe Candace is distracted in the mud right now. I don't fucking know. But it's not like I'm not being distracted. Like I'm doing my thing and she's doing her thing. And that's fine. I'm still digging into what I'm digging into. No big deal.
So I understood, obviously, that we were opening a can of worms because people were going to be compelled, obviously, by the fact that potentially Erica Kirk was on the base the evening before, if you will, on September 8th. But again, my main thing was Brian Harpole. During that time, as we were vetting his story, he described the congressman. He thought he was pretty certain that it was a congressman of some description. And he described him what he looked like, glasses, about the age. And he said the height was 5'9".
So from here, if you can't tell, we're getting into Mitch. We're getting into Mitch territory, ladies and gentlemen. So now throughout these little series of clips, I think I got 4 of them here. Why does it show 3? Should have 4. Oh, no, it is 3. So Candace is just talking about she doesn't care about his past. She's confirming more about Mitch. Then also talking about, and I don't know about this. This is not something, I mean, you're here, right? But I don't know if you've heard this from anybody who's been making videos about Mitch, but now I'm hearing Candace say that he has 0 convictions. So that's weird. I guess it's a lot of he said.
It's a little murky exactly what Mitch is convicted of. I'm pretty sure that Valhalla has evidence of convictions, but I forget. I'll look it up. I'm pretty sure I've got that episode queued in here. I'll look it up and I'll see.
She said. Now, I haven't watched Valhalla's breakdown. I definitely haven't watched any of Gary's breakdowns. I haven't seen any of the breakdowns in terms of Mitch's past. So this is news to me, and it's actually surprising because from what I've heard about him in conversations,
I'll look it up.
I would think there would be some convictions. But I guess there would also be jail time if there was, and I haven't heard about any jail time either. So all very odd. But let's jump into this first clip about Mitch. Let's jump in.
Say that. So he seems like he's being intentionally dishonest about stuff. She kind of just made one statement. Timing was a bit weird. Yeah, that's kind of how that happened.
Interesting. Okay, and then.
Just want to say she's talking about those two creators that I brought up. One is named Evan, one is named Morgan, and they both made a very odd statement. You know when somebody says, and I hear it a lot, especially in the content space. This is not an airport. You don't have to announce that you're leaving. That type of thing. Well, they had to announce that they were leaving, and it seems so weird because if you didn't support Candace looking into Mitch or having Mitch on the show, you could just quietly stop talking about it, but they made it a point, and they did it very similarly, whatever, you know what I mean. They did it the exact same way. One's talking about the Holy Spirit, the other one's just like, I can't do this, my heart, and people are gonna hate me, I'm sorry, that type of thing. And it turns out they're actually good.
So, in the episode that Nate did, that Valhalla VFT did about Mitch Snow, the word conviction does not appear. The word convict does not appear. The word convicted does not appear. Okay. All
right.
I think my timestamps are broken on this.
Hope everybody's ready for a fun one tonight.
I think my timestamps are broken. Here, this one's got a timestamp.
Tonight, I'm fighting off bronchitis right now. Wild. It's all the same video. We're obviously going to go through Mitch Snow. We're going to expose a bunch of his lies through his military career, his stories, and as well as his horrific 30-year background with domestic violence, punching women in the face, kidnapping children, all verified through court documents and him admitting to, by the way. We'll get into all that. A lot of...
So I watched the episode through, but I didn't remember if he said that Mitch was convicted of any crimes. And in that script, he doesn't say the word conviction or convicted. I would have to do a little more searching to kind of verify that. A little more asking for quotes about what he said exactly. But that's interesting. I had kind of assumed that he had claimed that, but I don't know.
Good friends. And it turns out they were talking about releasing these statements. And it turns out they're both... I think they admitted, according to a journalist, that they both are getting paid by the same company. Now they're not. They say they're not getting paid to make any anti-Mitch content.
I'm looking that up, chat.
It all just seems so odd. And Candace is being very nice to the one who's named Morgan, the lady. Evan, on the other hand, he's done a full switch, just like Balix, just like Tatum. He's just done this full switch. It's wild to see. But she's being very nice to Morgan. I don't think she should be. I really don't. I think
my sighting is breaking.
I think it looks exactly. I think it is exactly what it looks like. When you see people, I always say, when you see people speaking in unison, okay, you have to be wary. And then all of a sudden you see these two people speaking in unison. They actually have each other's numbers. They actually talk to each other all the time. They release the same type of statement.
We're not going to get into the drama between these influencer kits. We don't really need it. I'm going to run another search here. I think I might have fixed my citation breaking issue. We'll find out in a second.
Lively than I did want to. I guess I didn't write in and be like, I really want to hear more about Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. Actually, I don't understand why you can't go. No. Right? You don't get that choice. I don't know. It's just very weird. And now it seems like she has a person who's in there who clearly has an agenda and is trying to move the 150,000 people who are currently watching that thing. Anyway, let's keep going.
Yeah, and so I think what I would offer back is that's what we have been doing. So rather than speaking to his son, I contacted people on the base. Like, okay, he said that somebody named Neff, which is what he said initially in contacting me, Captain Neff was the one who questioned him. So rather than speaking to his son from 22 years ago, I think the people would say, why don't you speak to somebody who's on Fort Huachuca base now and see if there's a Captain Neff there? And that's what we did. And we confirmed that Captain Neff and the 10th Brigade was there.
That is what you do when you need to verify a story, is you look for names, dates, places, concrete facts within the story, and then you start hunting those specific truths down, especially ones that would be hard to know if you didn't have information, if you hadn't been there, if you hadn't seen something, if you hadn't had knowledge of that fact, because facts are really easy to get wrong. There's a million different names that are wrong for commanders on that base. There's only one name. There's maybe like 20 names, 100 names that would be right. So when you verify a name or a place or something like that, that helps.
He said it was in an offsite building, a JTF offsite building. We spoke to people at the base and they told us this is the exact building. Here's where it is in the map. And they are borrowing the space. He told us that this incident happened and the bomb dogs were called. So I made an effort and successfully got the police report. That's how we verify whether or not he's a pathological liar, is by verifying what he said, right? And so that's why, as I said before you jumped on, I reached out to the people that were involved. I reached out to Brian Harpole 3 times. He wanted to give an alibi in the sense of like giving flights for 3:42 that afternoon. Okay, so what's stopping you from giving us what you're doing at 7:30 a.m., right? Like that kind of is what's weird. It's like you give half an alibi that doesn't matter, but you don't want to give the full thing. You don't want to just message me and say, hey, just so you know, that wasn't me.
Yeah. It's a little weird.
That is coming up under Mr. Snow's record for some reason.
Open over
so I don't know if that's in alias or Mr. charge of some kind, but then several others started in 2023 that were granted. And what looks like one of the highest conflict divorce files I've ever seen that started in 2017. It might still be going on. It is. On criminal records, all I see is a felony charge of some kind that was dismissed in 2023 and a felony conviction for second-degree theft in the name of Ronnie Jean Waite Jr. That is coming up under Mr. Snow's records for some reason. So I don't know if that's in alias or if Snow was a victim or a witness in the case. And I can tell you right now, I also have additional court records and documents that precede 2013. So, and that's the other part of this, is like all of these different court records and documents and things like that are in multiple counties. They're filed in even multiple states. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and it's just really, really difficult to get to the truth.
So yeah, we're not finding conviction, but maybe I'm not looking hard enough.
So that's what we're actually doing, is trying to verify the last thing, which is just like really his memory. He did tell the truth. He told the truth about everything that happened that morning. And so the last thing is, does he have a good facial memory? And thus far, we've not been able to, and I am in the process, as I said, of speaking with Turning Point USA.
Putting it on Front Street. She's talking about Ian getting pressured. I don't know
this is
if
the part we got to comment on.
Was getting kind of.
It was like, we repeated a few times on the show. You either have really good memory when you see faces, or you have a bad memory like I do when I see faces. I don't know Mitch, so I don't know, but he was pretty detail oriented.
And she was very clear about that in her first episode with him too. She was very clear about the fact that she can't corroborate his memory of who he saw. That was not ambiguous when she said it.
About the watch and little things. And I think beyond anything else, the reaction when Andrew Colvett is wheeling and dealing behind the scenes, it then makes things really compelling, right? If he didn't get caught on that live, I probably would be neutral. I mean, I did one episode on this. Everybody's acting like I've done like Becoming Brigitte. You know what I mean? Like, we've been investigating the Charlie thing. We've covered so many things. I do one episode on Mitch and everyone's like, no, like, we got to talk to his high school classmates. We got to talk. It's like, dude, like everybody calm down. I'm getting threats of lawsuits in the background. So like Ian was like, I got to talk to you before your next episode, is what his text was, because they were putting pressure on him to get me to stop reporting on this. They didn't want me to even interview Mitch. So I just find that to be compelling. Like, what is this panic about? Especially.
I think here's where two conversations get conflated. I have to see what Coach Collins says.
When she says, now this is what Candace says, and Ian is kind of silent about this, but she is just
I've
kind
been
of
avoiding
putting it
the
on
story.
Front Street. She's talking about Ian getting pressured. I don't know if he was getting pressured or maybe he just felt pressured, but the people she's talking about is Gary and Valhalla apparently.
So 2 different conversations are getting mixed together here. Before Valhalla did his episode, he reached out through many channels to try to see if Candace wanted to talk to him about it and sort of like, you know, look at that evidence. And she was just kind of like, put it out. I wasn't really feeling pressured at any time here. There was another conversation earlier about the Brian Harpole flights and a potential lawsuit, which is a separate conversation, whole different thing. That might be what she's referring to there. I don't know. I don't think so. But Nate's a nice guy. Nate wasn't like being an asshole to me or anything like that.
Apparently, but you know, this is why I say Valhalla is probably gonna have.
Nate was just reaching out to me later when he was going to do this expose of being like, hey, does Candace want to see this right now? Like, does Candace want to like turn on this all? And it was like, dude, whatever, dude, just put your shit out, man. Just put your shit out. And I was worried that Nate was going to get way out over his skis and like totally just like go in on Candace a whole bunch and sort of just like go beyond the evidence that he had. But I actually was really pleased with how Nate did his episode. In that Nate stuck to the documents that he had and his perspective on them and what he believed based on those documents. And I don't necessarily share Nate's perspective on the documentation of the whole thing now that we're seeing more. But I'm glad that Nate reported it the way he did, and I liked how he reported it, and I like exhaled a big sigh of relief for him of like, well done, man. That was a solid way to do it. He got a lot of shit for it. I don't agree with the shit for it. That's fine though. You know, whatever. Make up your own opinions of people. It's all good.
Have to make another episode just so he can be like, no, I didn't pressure Ian. I wanted to warn Candace, which is, I think
Nate
that's
is Valhalla.
I think that's going to be what he has to say about that. But again, Valhalla, Valhalla's like, this is going to be one and done. I'm not making another episode about.
And as for the stolen valor, my understanding, not being military, is that stolen valor includes lying about your service, not just saying you were in when you weren't. And Mitch was a Green Beret, as we've learned. I'm not entirely clear. I guess maybe he lied about what he was in the service, but I don't really trust any of this reporting about it. I'm very, very reticent to like fall into thinking I know this or I don't know this about any of this story here. Pro Candace, anti Candace, pro Mitch, anti Mitch, whatever. I'm just kind of taking it all in. But Nate has a history of exposing stolen valor. That's kind of how he built his channel. So that's kind of his thing. So I'm not going to try to like claim that I know more about stolen valor than Nate. So, you know,
I don't know, man. I think you're gonna have to make a few. You're gonna have to make a few, which is, it's all good. It's all.
I love
good,
Colin's take on
Anyway, let's just jump into the next clip about Mitch right here.
Every trail should be exhausted before we say, oh,
it does seem like Mitch might have lied about how he got hurt. That's possible. I don't know.
And I have seen far more energy put into discrediting this Fort Huachuca witness than I have for people actually looking into the claim itself.
This is diligent.
Like Candace said earlier, she actually called people at the base to verify whether or not the events occurred. Was he there at that time? Where did it happen at? Etc. But I see all of these people. It's almost like it's coordinated.
I like Diligent a lot. He's a cool guy. I've met him before. I actually met him at Turning Point because we were both like, we don't belong here. we were at Amfest last year, and we knew each other from X. And I met him for the first time in person, and we were both kind of like, this place is weird, man. Let's hang out over here. This place is fucking weird. He's a cool dude.
Yeah. Right? All of these people on the same 2 days come out and say, oh, don't listen to this guy. They apply labels. Do you know why we apply labels to people? That way you stop listening to them. Oh, what he says doesn't matter anymore because he's an abuser, because he's a fraud, because he's this, because he's that. Right? Yeah. Far more effort into discrediting that witness than there has actually been into validating the information that he's been given.
By the way, the best way to discredit him is to debunk his story. Like, it's like, so I'm like, why don't you focus on this? You can act. Do you hate Mitch? Do you hate who he is as a human being? Do you believe he's a pathological liar? How about proving that something that he told us was a pathological lie? Like, doesn't that just make sense? Like,
Zero convictions. All of the people saying that he was a fraudster, that he was an abuser, whatever. I couldn't find one.
It's probably a lot like Adult Film Awards. I've never been to the Adult Film Awards, but let's just say that at AmFest every year, James O'Keefe likes to throw a DJ party, and James O'Keefe likes to DJ, and he likes to dress up and do his thing. And it was a cool party. I mean, it was whatever. It was better than some parties I've been to in this industry. And it was just full of weird political, just a lot of like ladder climbers get attracted to the light like a moth at a TPUSA style event. A lot of drama behind the scenes that I don't give a shit about. A lot of, oh, do you want to meet this person or meet this person? It's like, no, not really. Like, I don't care. Like, whatever, dude. It's like, I'm hanging out with my homies. Like, I'm just meeting homies, whatever. It's just weird. I should have made a Grindr account and logged into Grindr and seen who was on Grindr. Next year.
One criminal record of him being convicted.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah,
You
I
do, right?
couldn't find it either. They were showing no convictions. It was he said, she said. I mean, just like full character assassination.
A
And
one-sided divorce court that he didn't get to tell his piece in.
It was
Isn't that
very
interesting?
Me Too. It was very Me Too. I'm sorry to say it. And
Yeah,
like when grown
yeah,
men
he
are
is.
doing the Me Too shit, I just have no energy for it. I'm just like, all right, guys, like cool, thumbs up. Like, I'm glad.
I mean, O'Keefe is a good example of someone who, like, I don't know him well as a person. I like his reporting. He's done some incredible journalism. He's done some crazy stories. He does this crazy style of gonzo journalism. But, like, I don't necessarily, like, F with what he likes to do as a, like, the way he parties and just, like, is as a, like, media figure. It's not my style. And that's fine. Not my job to, like, be the same type of person as everybody. And so I can just separate the person from the reporting and just look at the reporting for what it is. You don't have to. And James has always been a nice dude to me. I have no problem with James O'Keefe. So it's like, all good, dog. Who cares? There's a lot of characters out in this world that have a lot of personality, and James O'Keefe has a ton of personality. And so it's like, whatever, man. Just don't commit crimes and don't hurt innocent people and don't be a piece of shit. Right?
Glad you found like his classmates in middle school or whatever, but like, could you use some of that male energy towards act?
Ian, you are so logical. How? It's really simple. Just deal with your own shit and your own baggage and master your own emotions. And then you won't get offended at bullshit. You won't have a thin skin. You won't get emotional and hot-headed. You won't take things personally. You won't get into stupid shouting matches over things that don't matter. You won't die on hills when you're wrong. You'll have the humility to be like, I don't know. I don't know everything. It's not complicated. Just deal with your own shit. And don't be a bitch. It's crazy. But there are a lot of men and a lot of women in this world and in this industry, because the world doesn't teach people to deal with their own shit. It actually thrives off of people that have not dealt with their shit so that it can sell them solutions. So deal with your shit. That would be a good shirt. Yes, it would.
Actually, like if you think he's all of these things, the best thing to do would be like help us prove that he's lying on the thing that we care about, which is the Charlie Kirk assassination, and no one has thus far done that. And he has not changed his story. So I am inclined to follow this, especially because we now know that Erica and Andrew Colvett and Brian Harpole do care enough to offer up, some parsed alibis.
The common knowledge of most people who are following the case, it becomes way harder to refute. It's much harder for people to refute something that's already in their head.
Yeah, he put some good commentary on how the information space can be fed laundered information.
Super nice to him, and they're saying, or one of them said, and I don't want to mix them up, names. And okay, so we have him on, obviously, and he says both of the names, and what happened thereafter is what I can only describe as like an explosion. I get contacted from somebody who's in DC, and they were very concerned and thought maybe somebody was feeding me bad information. And I was kind of interested in the phone call, not going to name the person, but was basically like, worried about your security and things like that. And I was like, I think we're good. Like, we're just kind of vetting the story.
Yeah.
Then on the 20th, and this is very interesting, these two YouTubers, Valhalla and Paramount Tactical, reach out to Mitch. And they're being super nice to him. And they're saying...
So I don't know this for sure, but I believe that she's confusing voices, or that Mitch confused who was who or something. I don't know. I don't think that Valhalla reached out to Mitch. I believe I know that Paramount did. I think we'll get that evidence in the future here, and I think that Valhalla will probably comment on this part. I don't know. But I think that I have reason to believe that Paramount did, and I don't know about the Valhalla part of this. So he'll clarify.
Or one of them said, and I don't want to mix them up, but we have the video of it because Mitch is predisposed to paranoia, and he recorded them. And I'm going to drop the conversations. I'm happy.
I'd be very curious to see these. I want these to drop.
They're so nice to him. This is on December 20th, and they're not questioning whether or not he was in the special forces. They're not saying anything weird. And
I do remember Paramount Tactical being searched from Tel Aviv in June or July. Actually, I have that on my chart.
Actually saying to him that I may be under foreign influence.
Nate is actually on right now saying he never spoke to Mitch. No shit, huh? No shit. Like literally right now?
The Israel prize.
I have to say, it's such a fitting thing. And it would honor us, obviously, Mr. President, if you could visit Israel in that.
So, again,
it was probably at the start of the show.
From other people on Twitter. A lot of people attacking me on Twitter. I don't have Twitter, but people send me these things. So you got, this has got most of it here. Let's see. Sarah Lyons, Jeffrey, no idea who this is. Candace episode with Mitch. And then we'll get to the second part here and address that. Ian's going to address this one as well. But let's address the first part here. Supposedly, that I had a phone call with Mitch Snow.
Nailed it. You don't even need Webb to clip that.
For some reason, I divulged into Mitch Snow that I think Candace is a foreign asset and all these things. Very, very bizarre. Here's the reality, guys. And I'm glad the phone call got recorded.
I think that Paramount is the one that said that, I believe. That's my guess.
I've never spoken to Mitch Snow. Not on the phone, not via text, not via email, not Snapchat, not Instagram.
See, when you actually didn't do something, you just come out and say you didn't do it. It's simple. This is when someone alleges that you did something that you didn't do. You can just do this. And I believe it's confusion because I have reason to believe that the phone call doesn't show faces, that it has audio. And I think we'll see it probably. I'm hoping that we'll see it or hear it at least. So I think the confusion is probably understandable, but we'll see.
If I had Twitter, not Twitter. I have literally never spoken to Mitch Snow. So the idea that I was talking shit about Candace Owens and calling her a federal agent to Mitch Snow, wrong guy. Okay? Different Green Beret. Okay? So Gary from Paramount Tactical talked to Mitch, and he's been very open about that. He talked about it on his show. Once I...
See, it's not hard to deny something that you didn't do.
Found out more about Mitch, who this guy was, I didn't want anything to do with him. I didn't want to give him a minute of my time. I didn't want to platform him, and I told you guys that. He never reached out to me. We were never in contact. Well, no, here's the thing. She did. She said Valhalla or Gary, and then she said they did this, they did this, they did this. And so that's why...
Fair criticism. Fair criticism. This is one of the issues with going live and reporting on the fly, and kind of like this constant media feed does make it hard to be really precise all the time. It makes it easy to make little mistakes like that are shitty. And we all have to have a little grace for each other. At least I try to have a little grace for people. I don't take things too seriously. And if someone makes a mistake about me, I'm not too stressed. But, I understand how other people would take it otherwise too. But that's cool. Right on. Nate's live right now. And there's the scoop from Nate.
I'm like, okay, these guys are clearly not good guys.
This has to be Gary. This doesn't sound like Valhalla to me. And I could be 100% wrong. But you're calling and you're basically playing the whole she's foreign influence. Like, hey, brother, come on, this is foreign influence.
People are doxing people. Hey, listen, the only thing I'll say about doxing is that I tend to suspect that people that are doxing people are never from the actual authentic narratives that they are supposed to represent. I would bet you money that anyone that might be doxing Nate because he's insulting Candace, I'd bet those aren't actually Candace fans. I would bet that behavior is almost always planted from all sides as a COINTELPRO style operation to make everyone mad at everyone and to make everyone feel unsafe and to make everyone turn on each other. This is COINTELPRO 101. Okay. And I think that all journalists today, all media personalities, especially, but also regular people, like, people that are just living their regular lives, everyone needs to remember and consider that the internet space, the information space, is full of disinformation agents that work in subtle and mysterious ways to stoke complex disagreements, emotions, uncertainties, doubts, so that everyone splits up and everyone fights each other. And remember that what you think is a Candace fan might just be a bot from her enemies there to fuck with you. Or it might be a bot from some other media campaign there to fuck with you. Or it might be a bot from a corporation there to subtly get you to want to buy something. I don't fucking know. But just remember, if it's not a human on video explicitly saying something into a camera, don't assume it's a person. Okay? This is 2025. And this is unfortunately just the basic nature of the information space today, which is full of psyops in complex ways. It's not hard to flood the zone with whatever it is you want, including false opposition in all sorts of crazy directions. So just a reminder to all commentators and all media personalities, like, for example, Harrison Smith was getting attacked a whole bunch, and I can't help but wonder if they were all people or not. Kind of doubt it. I bet that it's wedges being driven, conflicts being stoked, doubt and discomfort and emotions being inflamed. Right? This is the nature of the game. And we all have to understand it and develop a thick skin and not stress it. Just chill. Just chill. Just calm down. When you see a person say something about you into a camera, address that. And we'll do that in a second. We're doing that with this, and we'll do that with Alex Jones in just a second.
You can't be trusting her. That listen. It has to be Gary. But I don't know, man. And the thing about it is, Candace is gonna drop that recording soon. I think it's gonna be Gary though. I'm 90% sure it's gonna be Gary.
Actually, the 20th is when he first told me that they had reached out to him and wanted him on his podcast. It might have been the 21st that they called him. I'll clear that up. But between the 20th and the 22nd is when they are suddenly calling him, and they're like, oh, like, we're just concerned about Candace. Okay, yeah, and you're gonna see in a couple of days he loses his mind and suddenly speaking to like exes and baby mamas like he's Jerry Springer. But that was the nature of their phone call. So I'm like, okay, that's weird. I don't know these guys. And then on the 22nd, I get another phone call from Ian Carroll. Oh, he's here. I'm gonna add you, Ian. Add a speaker. I get another phone call from Ian Carroll, and this time Ian is like totally freaked as in like very concerned, because obviously like I have a good relationship with Ian Carroll, and to some degree he respects Valhalla.
Yeah, she's exaggerating a little, but I was concerned for her, just in like, I want to make sure, Candace, that your wits are about you and that you're not emotional about this and that you're thinking it all through. And we talked for a while, and by the end of it, I was like, I see your point of view, and you know this better than me, and I'm going to respect your take 100%, and I'm going to learn from whatever you do and however it falls out, and whatever, I got you. That's cool. I'm just here to deliver a message for you, because I think you want to know this, and you do with it what you want. And as soon as I got off the phone, I was like, well, Candace is doing Candace stuff, and that's fine. That's how she be. whatever. I ain't stressed about it, dude. It's all good. Because you don't take it personally, and you stay independent and you do your own thing. And if someone makes a mistake, whatever, we all learn from it. Right?
And he's like, look, I have this friend who's in the military. He has a YouTube channel, and he basically runs me through, and he's like basically saying that he wants to talk to me. And it was kind of said to me in a way that was like, if you don't kind of take this rope, like, and jump off of this Mitch train, like, what's going to come out about Mitch is going to be explosive, and you're going to like go down on the ship. That's essentially the vibe.
That was kind of how it was portrayed. That's how Nate portrayed his episode. And I don't think that that's what's happening at all, obviously. You know, I don't think Candace's ship sinks, even if you do like prove that she's wrong about something.
That Valhalla was giving to Ian Carroll, and basically like kind of demanding to get on the phone with me. And I was like, and then he starts talking about,
he wasn't demanding,
first he said stolen valor. Like he was like, he was never a Green Beret. I was like, he absolutely was a Green Beret. I sent that up the chain of the government. Like, that's just not true. And it felt to me like they were clearly being quite aggressive with Ian on the phone, demanding to speak to me, demanding that I allow them onto my platform, talking about.
Nate wasn't being aggressive with me. He was being emotionally heated because he was really pissed at Mitch because he had just been doing all this research, which is understandable. But it did come across in a way. I understand how she's interpreting that way. That's fine.
About his like ex-wives. I was like, I don't care about any of this. And I said to Ian, this seems to me like they're trying to distract me with stupid stuff. Like, if he has something that is concrete that like Mitch somehow defrauded me or lied and did like definitively was not a Green Beret, then please just have him email it to me. And I said, and if he emails that to me, I will deal with it immediately. And I also made it clear to Ian that, because they were like, oh, then like she could get in trouble for fraud because she raised money for this guy and he wasn't even like a Green Beret. I was like, first off, he never asked me to raise money for him. So the idea that he was doing this to defraud me for money, that came out naturally when I was live. I said I would do a give, send, go, because I said people were going to start digging up things. Like, I just had a feeling like I thought it would be other people, but I just felt like, oh, let's like raise money for him. He had a tough life, whatever. And I had that court paperwork of what he was going through. So that was natural. And not only that, but the very next day, which I will show on my show this week, Mitch sent me an email the day after I started the Give, Send, Go. The morning after, he sent me and Skylar an email and said, thank you so much for raising money, but I do not want to accept this money from you. And he was...
Man. So
let's really quickly lay out the timeline of Mitch Snow here for a second, at least as far as I'm aware of it. Mitch Snow was in Fort Huachuca months ago. So he had this storied life, believe what you want of it, discredit what you want of it. Maybe he's a woman abuser. Maybe he's just gets in relationships with crazy bitches that are fucking mean and accuse people to take their shit. Maybe it's a mixture of both. I don't know. Think what you want of his past. He has that past. And then he winds up on Fort Huachuca on the day he said he was there. And he has copious digital forensic evidence that he has provided to Candace, far more than anyone else realizes, I think, that he was there on that day. That was before Charlie was killed. That was before Candace was talking about any of this. That was before any of the story had happened. That evidence already existed. So if this is a scam, it's a scam built on top of that coincidence. And it's not just like he was randomly at any fort on any given day. He was at this fort on a day when there just so happened to be these weird SAM 000 flights happening too. So it's a significant day on a special kind of a base that's kind of a weird situation where his story comes out to seem like it's it's something crazy happened there. And then later we discover, like months and months and months later, when this all comes to the top, we discover that there were these crazy SAM 000 flights. So there's like all these weird coincidences that all happened way back then, before Charlie was killed. So if it is a scam to try to trick Candace, to me, it starts to seem like it's a scam that was devised by the plotters themselves, because the scam involves a random person being on a random military base with a SAM 000 flight with a story that actually does check out to that degree. So it's like, that's not a coincidence. That would have to be like kind of knowingly planted because it would be juicy, right? Like that would be a hell of a coincidence. And then Candace just happens to see his email when it comes in, when his friend emails her, and she chooses to respond to that email out of all of them. And then she chooses to go into his story more and go into it more and go into it more and go into it more. And then she's the one that chooses to offer this give, send, go thing on the fly because she knows how these legal things go, and that's her choice. And I don't know if she's going to wind up giving him the money or not. But it's just like, it's a weird thing for it to be a scam. Because it would be a very planned out scam that relied on an assassination happening, which Mitch Snow wouldn't have known was going to happen. Right? Because if Mitch Snow had known that Charlie Kirk was going to be assassinated, we're back to square one with a conspiracy to assassinate Charlie Kirk. So Mitch did not know when he was collecting that digital forensic evidence before Charlie was killed. He did not know that that was going to happen. You see what I'm saying there? And so when you actually examine the evidence that we do concretely know about, and I think some of it the public is going to get more of from Candace, you start to realize that for it to be a scam, you would actually have to be confirming a conspiracy for it to be a scam. Because somehow the people that planted the scam would have had to know that this was going to happen and know that they were going to need it to get Candace. Or it's just a crazy coincidence that a scammer just happened to walk into that base on that day and be like, oh, I have the perfect way to like make up a new scam here. Right? That's all very weird. Right? And if it was a scam, like it, so maybe it is, but it's just, to me, it starts to add up to like, oh shit, now this son is saying that the military police called him on December 9th, corroborating the police aspect of the incident, not just that he was there. So did he like plan the scam out so that he would get arrested by the police so that they would call his son so that he would have extra corroboration later when Candace Owens was investigating the murder of a man who hadn't been murdered yet? That's a hell of a scam. That's the best scammer I've ever heard about in my entire fucking life. The scammer is prescient. Unless I'm misunderstanding something here. I mean, let's play devil's advocate. Maybe Mitch Snow got arrested or got, in trouble with the police that day and they know about him. And so maybe later on someone knows that he's got trouble and they go back and they're like, that would be the perfect patsy for a scam. We should plant this scam with him and we should send him to Candace with this crazy story to throw her off the trail. But then it's like, okay, we're back to co-conspirators. We're back to someone actively trying to break this investigation up. Why would someone try to break this investigation up? Mitch Snow has to be a lone scammer who's just after money for this not to be a conspiracy to throw Candace off. Right? That's the thing, is that if you have people conspiring to stop Candace's investigation, you pretty quickly wind back up at a conspiracy being evidenced by that.
Sounds more like Valhalla. Valhalla was pissed about the money being raised, and he was really serious about that. And the clip that I played, like everybody knows that he is very upset that any money was raised for this guy. So that sounds like him.
Exactly.
But yeah, definitely there's been, it was once things started to fire up, people were starting to talk about like what they saw as holes in Mitch's story.
Yeah.
And it's been very interesting to watch how that has evolved. So I just talked briefly about how there's a lot going on behind the scenes and a lot of people contacting me, try to get to Candace all the fucking time, but that blew up especially around this. Not just Nate trying to talk about that episode. A lot of people have been contacting me to contact Candace, and I'm always like, not my job, bro. Not my job. Don't call me. If you know her, call her. I'm not Candace's inbox. On channels like Paramount.
Hard for Gary recently, man. He slips up on the live.
And I think the rest is just funny jokes. I think the rest is mostly just funny jokes. Unless it's a scam by opportunity. That's what I'm saying, is that I could imagine it being a scam by opportunity, but then you have to think that through a little bit. So if it's a scam by opportunity, meaning that Mitch Snow just genuinely went there and genuinely got in that trouble on that base on that day. And then genuinely Charlie gets assassinated. Mitch didn't know that that was going to happen, but it does. Then Candace is investigating, and then Candace is not yet on Fort Huachuca at all. And the scammer thinks, hey, I bet I could make up a story that would involve people from Turning Point that might hook her. I'm going to send an email. I'm going to get my friend to send an email. Then it's a total coincidence that Sam 000 flew there that day. Or he's like looking that up and he knows, oh my gosh, a Sam 000 flight flew there that day. Like pretty quickly, how would he even know that a Sam 000 flight was there unless he did see a crazy meeting while he was there? And then we're back to square one. There was a crazy meeting there. And so it's like, for him to just have randomly walked onto the base before there was an opportunity for the scam and gotten in trouble with the military police before there was an opportunity for a scam, on the exact day when a Sam 000 flight is at that base, then that's a weird coincidence for him then to go backwards later and be like, oh, that's a perfect opportunity. And he wouldn't have had any reason to know that there was a Sam 000 flight unless he did see evidence of Sam 000 type people there. And if you do have evidence of that, if you do have him seeing a meeting, then you're back to square one of there having been a meeting, regardless of whether he's trying to scam her or not. So it's all very convoluted of trying to make it a coincidence in my mind. And maybe I'm wrong. Like maybe I'm not seeing some logic here. But to me, anyway, like when it first came out, I was like, whoa, that's a fucking crazy story. I'm not going to believe that without some crazy evidence. And I didn't touch it. I haven't done any reporting on it. I have not touched it. But as more and more pieces have been filled in, as I've learned more behind the scenes about what is and is not evidenced, as other reporters have dug up things like the Sam flights and like these other pieces of it, as Gary has aired out that the military police arrest thing did really happen, as evidenced by Mitch's estranged son, to me, it starts to get more and more like, wow, dude, all of these coincidences are adding up big time. And suddenly having it be a scam actually becomes harder and harder and harder. And I don't know if that makes me believe that Mitch's past is squeaky clean. I'm not on that train yet. I don't know. I don't really care. I mean, I care about, like, don't fucking abuse people, especially kids and women. You are the lowest of the low if you do that. But I don't feel like I know one way or another what the truth is of all that. Yeah, I had a friend when I was much younger that got tangled up in allegations that might have been true, but might have been false. And I never really knew the bottom of it. And I wish I had just been more straight with my friend at the time and been like, hey, what's up with this? But I was young and didn't have the directness back then to just go to him and be like, tell me the true story. Just tell it to me fucking straight, bro. And I wish I had, because these things are messy. And at the time, I just kind of went with the story that he had done it, because that's what it seemed from the evidence and from her and from, the courts. And over time, as I got older and wiser, I realized that, I didn't actually have enough evidence to throw my friend under the bus like that and not just go to him directly and get all the sides of the story and think it through, because these things do happen. False accusations are fucking gross, and they do happen. So I don't know. And I'm not trying to pass judgment on Mitch one way or another. It's not my fucking business, and I don't know. And if I see evidence that feels very concrete, then I'll, have an opinion. But I'm, like many, much more concerned with this story, this coincidence, this scam, that I cannot square how it would be a scam. And I'm trying to square how it would be a scam.
That would be enough to collapse the current paradigm and change the whole planet.